talking about SNL, the history, the mysteries, and all the hot impressions in between, breaking down all the numbers as well. In your favorite sketches with special guests, it's on the Saturday Night Network.
Yes, welcome on in, everybody, to the Saturday Night Network for another edition of our Hot Take Show, coming to you live after Game 7 of the Dodgers and Blue Jays, but also Miles Teller and Brandi Carlile's episode of Saturday Night Live. My name is Jon Schneider from the SNL. So excited to be back with you tonight to talk about a very fun night at SNL with a lot of great storylines. And joining me this evening is the one, the only Law Murray. Law, how are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to say I did not watch whatever happened in Canada, so we ain't got to talk about that.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about it, but I'm sure there's a lot of second screen action going on here tonight. Joining us as well for the first time in a while on a Hot Take Show is my man Andrew Haynes. Haynes, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. I mean, you may hear that my voice is cracking because I was screaming as my Wolfpack knocked off the number 8 team in the country, Georgia Tech, earlier. I was at the game. I rushed home for SNL, and I very much was too screening because I really, really wanted to watch the Dodgers lose, and it was a tough night for me and real baseball fans because everyone hates the Dodgers, right? Except
for Bill Kenny. So congrats, Bill, again. Once again,
I have so much respect for Bill Kenny. I love that man so much, but if he was on the show, it would be hard to deal with it right now.
Yeah. Well, enjoy your celebration, Bill, and congrats to all the Dodgers fans out there. Of course, we are here as a presentation of LateNighter.com tonight. So many great things happening over there in late night TV. And of course, I'm so excited to talk about this episode with Miles Teller returning to host for the second time. We last saw him in the season 48 premiere, and he is back here once again. And for his second time hosting, Law, do you have any hot takes or headlines that you saw from this evening?
I just can't get Miles Teller and Peyton Manning separated. It's completely the fault of the show from his first hosting episode back in the 2022 opener. Like, he looks and sounds like Peyton so much, and I hear Peyton all the time, obviously, because even if I didn't watch football, I mean, Peyton's in every damn commercial still. And so, I mean, shoot, it's been 10 years since Peyton played. So Miles Teller's got that going for him. He should absolutely invest in being a Peyton Manning ringer even further. We did not see that tonight, but we did see patterns of Miles' first episode rolling over to the second episode. So I'm sure we'll get to that.
Okay, Haynes, what about you? Any hot takes or headlines that you saw from this evening of Saturday Night Live?
Completely forgot that I need to have a nice hot take coming into the show. So I'll give you a very reasonable take, which is that, listen, I thought Andrew Dismukes had a little bit of a standout night. He was fantastic. And we'll leave that there as my headline. I thought Andrew Dismukes had a great night. That'll be my headline.
All right, let me build on that because every Friday for Late Nighter, I've been writing this article called The 5 Storylines You Need to Watch About This Week of SNL. And one of the storylines I wrote about this week, because I've been noticing some patterns, is the appearance of a new it couple at Saturday Night Live. And that would be the pairing of Ashley Padilla and Andrew Dismukes. And we've been talking a lot about how great Ashley has been. But sometimes when you have such a great performer at the show, it's not just that we talk about that performer becoming the face or the star of the show. We also talk about what that performer does to other cast members. And we've praised Andrew for years now because we always felt like he was bringing a lot to the show. But it's so amazing to see a really good, if not great, cast member become even greater because someone else has joined the cast and pushed them even further. And I felt tonight that we got 3 different moments throughout the night where Andrew and Ashley were paired together and consistently made this show amazing. So I'm not saying that the whole show was amazing, but those moments elevated this show tremendously for me. And I continue to feel like we're watching something really cool, really different, Now that we've seen the emergence of Ashley Padilla and we've seen her rub off on Andrew, maybe literally on Weekend Update, but it was a very fun time to see them pair up multiple times again this week. And I think that's going to be a huge storyline for the rest of the season. So we'll talk a lot about that. But of course, the major headlines around all of the trades tomorrow will be SNL finally covering the New York mayoral election and who they brought in for this cold open. So we'll start there and we'll talk about a little bit of a surprise where, some people actually thought that this would be what was done the last episode, but we didn't get to that. This time we are heading back to politics, but New York centric politics, as Miles Teller is going to play Andrew Cuomo to open up the show. Of course, Keenan will be there. He has a very meta line to open up the show of playing Errol Lewis and being the least famous person he's ever impersonated on SNL, but says it's uncanny. Miles Teller, as I said, plays Andrew Cuomo. That was, of course, Pete's role for a while. We do have Rami Youssef, a season 49 host, come in and play Zohran Mamdani. And then Shane Gillis is there to play Curtis Sliwa. And you may remember there was a lot of talk about Shane Gillis coming in to play Trump last year. And he, of course, declined that invitation. But he does play Curtis Sliwa for this episode. We'll see Cam as Eric Adams. James Austin Johnson will come in as Trump at the end. So, Law, this was a really big cold open that they put on here to start episode 4 of season 51. What did you think of it?
Well, I will say that I was anticipating to see if they were even going to cover this at all. They covered it the last possible moment that they could. The election in New York is Tuesday. So I'm really surprised that it took as long as it did. And we can understand why it took as long as it did. They didn't feel comfortable with any of the 17 people in the cast playing the principals in this election. Like, you had to go outside to get someone for Zohran. You had to go outside. I mean, you had Miles Teller hosting, obviously. So that was what I was saying in my little hot take. It's like you had Miles Teller in the cold open 2 out of 2 times now as host. So and this was obviously a lot more topical than 3 years ago. And then I definitely noticed that I don't think Shane got a very big pop compared to Rami. I only do this show with you, John, when Shane Gillis happens to be on it for some reason. So there's that. And I also thought it was interesting that people talked about the Kill Tony possible influence on the show. They made sure to slide Cam Patterson in there as Eric Adams as well. A big departure from my favorite Eric Adams is still Chris Redd. I miss Chris Redd. Being on the show doing Eric Adams. Cam did it fine, but obviously that seemed like it was going to be a one-off. So I'm interested to see how much depending on who wins this election. But like, I'm interested to see if Rami gets more run. Like, I think if you take the time and you want to introduce in a big spot like that, it's like, well, there's a chance for it to be recurring. And I just feel like SNL just felt like, hey, we got to get it done. So, that's how I'm feeling about that.
Yeah, it seemed pretty it was a pretty big question mark about who would play Mamdani. I know a lot of people were wondering, if there was going to be such a big figure, and then you got rid of Emil Joachim, like, how do you find somebody to play him? And I guess I can't believe that I missed that there was an opportunity to bring in Rami. I know he's not on the cast, which I'll go to Haynes about in a second. But I was there the night that Rami Youssef hosted the show, and I don't know that he was the most memorable host, but being in the building that night, I could tell you that everyone loved him. Like, he was beloved, and they really enjoyed it. So I'm not surprised that they ultimately ended up bringing him back. Haynes, when we met 5 years ago and I had you on the show, one of your big things that you came to me and you were like, I want to talk about Saturday Night Live and I want to come on the podcast. I'm like, okay. And you're like, I hate all of the stunt casting because SNL has a cast and they've gone away from it for a long time. I mean, we did have those like pops in the election last year, but tonight was one of those nights where we're bringing in a couple of former hosts to play some notable figures. How did you feel about this?
First of all, I loved it. And, there was a time when they were doing a lot of stunt casting from outside the cast, and it just felt like too much. It felt like a lot. I've said this plenty of times, I'll never have a problem with bringing just in a great comedian, particularly someone who's associated with the show, particularly a cast member. I mean, a former cast member. I'm never ever going to have a problem with that type of cameo. And I love stand-ups. So bringing in Rami and Shane, that totally worked for me. I also thought Rami in particular just did a great job with his acting in this. I loved that big cheesy smile that he puts on at the end of all of his answers. I think he did a great job being expressive in that way and playing that role that they wrote for him. So it was fantastic. I think Shane Gillis always just has a great delivery. It seems whatever character they throw at him. So my biggest thing was I still don't love it when like it's just a person who has a movie out and isn't associated with the show and isn't funny, and then they're just in a sketch for like one line and it gets like a big clap. Like I know it makes someone happy somewhere. That's fine. But there was a time when I felt like we were dealing with too much of that. This I don't have a problem with at all. And it was really fun to see both of them pop in for sure.
Yeah, I was basically sitting there watching this and I'm like, all right, okay, if we're going to do this, win me over. And I think they did. I mean, I was really impressed with what I saw from both Rami Youssef and Shane Gillis tonight, who I really felt like Shane was the star of that cold open. We've seen him host SNL twice. He's had some really good moments. He's had other moments that I've questioned, but I have to wonder if this was my favorite thing that I've seen Shane Gillis do on Saturday Night Live, playing Curtis Lewa here, because I felt like the whole cold open was almost written around him. I really loved everything about this. I will say I didn't think this needed Trump in it, especially because we were going to see James as Trump later in the episode in a pre-tape that clearly they like really worked towards having him there. I don't know why he had to come in and interrupt at the end. I know that it's probably like a ratings thing. Like maybe they think it'll give it more of a pop, but like I really felt like you had a good thing going with all three of these candidates, and that didn't fully click for me. Haynes,
I don't think it tanked the sketch in any way, but I just think that, and you put up that comment earlier, someone else made the same comment. It really didn't need Trump. It's just a fact. I mean, you had a full sketch, and then there's kind of like a second sketch, a second version of this sketch with Trump as the star, and so it really became like a movie and then a sequel. That's the way it felt. So you had everything for a great sketch, leading all the way up until that Trump. It did not need Trump at all. But I didn't think it tanked the sketch. It was just, just more jokes.
Yeah. And to be clear, like, I think my issue with it is that they've established in this version, this era of James as Trump, that he's going to do the whole tableau thing and everything's going to freeze behind him and he's going to talk directly to the audience. However, he didn't really do that here. He sort of stood in front of them as if he was going to do that. And yet he was still communicating with the people behind them as if they weren't frozen. So it was sort of like, there was a meta aspect to it where you're watching it, if you're a big SNL fan, thinking about like what's about to happen that doesn't actually happen. Then he's going to go off and sing Phantom of the Opera and sort of take the attention away from the New York mayoral election, which I understand is probably a little bit of relevant political writing. But I really think that they had something good here, Law. So let's wrap up our conversation on this cold open.
Yeah, I mean, seeing him at the end, obviously, what happened later in the show, with the Property Brothers sketch, actually, and the fact that the Property Brothers sketch, it wasn't like there was some distance. It was literally the next block of the show. It's obviously it changes how you feel about the cold open.
Right.
But I also just know that it felt relevant, like you said, to the fact that we're all watching who is hitting in this mayoral race and who has been trying to press their influence on it. I do feel like having Trump in the sketch, having JJ in there, it's not like it was misplaced, like maybe there was too much going on too early in the show. But if you're going to hit that mayoral race again for the first time the whole season, this is episode 4, like, yeah, you kind of have to hit all of it. You got to hit the whole story, and he's unfortunately a big part of that story.
Right. And I believe this is also the first time in the history of the show that they've actually ever covered a New York mayoral race in this sense. They've covered transitions between mayors. Former New York mayors have hosted the show. So it'll be very interesting as we see what happens in a couple of days from now.
Can I add something, John? I think that point right there, like, because I mentioned the first thing that I said about this, we've been wondering if they were even going to do it at all. If the show opened with something else, then you could say, oh, they missed it, but I wouldn't have been surprised, you know. And that's the thing. It's like you could have had this sketch, you know. Obviously, you couldn't have done it with a particular host. Like Miles Teller hosting completed the sketch because you had a key character in there. But Miles Teller was available for this episode, November 1st. That's how it worked out. And sometimes you just got to roll with it.
100%. All right. Let's keep going to Miles Teller's monologue. So he talks about how he used to go trick-or-treating as the Roxbury guys with his sisters, which is sort of a continuation of the first monologue that he did in 2022, where he talks about dressing up as the Spartan cheerleaders, and he shows a video of him with his sisters there. He talks about moving around a lot when he was younger and how he lost his house earlier this year in the Palisades fires, and he's grateful to have so many places to call home, including here, and then points to the fire exits. I thought it was a nice monologue. Are you guys okay if I yada yada this one a little bit? I don't know that there was a lot here to talk about.
Listen, no, I mean, I'm with you. I thought I'm glad that they kept it short and sweet. There was nothing special about this monologue, but when it was finishing up, I did have the feeling. I thought, you know what, that's really solid. It's a very it was solid. It was quick and like there was no jokes that bombed, like, and he did a great job with his delivery. It was that, you know, you got some solid jokes and it was kind of in and out, and solid was the word for it, I think.
It was very short, I would say. So I don't know that there's too much to get into here. I do think that it's always nice for me, again, and I probably said this in 2022, that to know that the person who's hosting Saturday Night Live is a fan of the show. I think that makes you buy in a lot easier as a fan watching the show. Let's go to a game show called What Did I Do Last Night? So last night was Halloween. So we're going to have Keenan host the show, and we're going to have 3 contestants, Miles as Kenneth, Veronica as Elizabeth, and Ben as Ron, who are all pretty hungover from what they did last night, all in different costumes, talking about all of the things that went down. Miles is sort of dressed in this this costume that he took from a kid. Veronica is a sexy cat. Ben is like a very hungover, and we can see footage of him at the ATM. It's a little bit scattered, my notes, because there's so much dialogue here in terms of all the things that they did last night. As they ask questions and get answers, they're going to have different punishments. So Cam is going to come out as Keenan's nephew Andre to learn the sax and play it as a penalty. Jane will be an acquaintance from high school as well. Law, what did you think of this game? What did I do last night? To talk about all the trick-or-treaters.
Well, y'all might remember when Miles hosted 3 years ago, they had a little show, Instagram DM show, Say Something Normal, something like that. So Miles hosted that one. He was obviously a contestant because they found another absolutely outrageous name for Keenan to have hosting a game show. Like, I feel like we need to put a compilation together of all the names Keenan has had hosting game shows, hosting documentary series, whatever they've thrown at him for that. So there's that. I thought it was a great way to get around the fact that they didn't really have a Halloween show. You know, they didn't really get into it with Sabrina Carpenter. It was too far away to really hit it. But having a night after, you know, game show on this particular episode, I thought that was cool. I like Jane Wickline's little cameo in there. That was scary. I know some people would be freaking out if they had to associate a little bit too much with somebody from high school. Like, so I thought it was
great to help them move.
Yes. Like not just no. It's like we going to actually. It's like that's a double whammy. There's people that you love, and it's like you gotta pay me a lot to get me to help you move. Especially this time of year, it's starting to get cold for some of y'all. We just got out of heat wave out of LA, but again, we don't need to talk about that. So I thought it was fun. I thought it was a nice way to keep to keep the energy up. My thing with the monologue, like Miles Teller is excited to be on this show. I think that's why he's here. I don't think anyone knows what the heck he got coming out or has been doing in 2025. He's been doing a lot, but that didn't come up. This was not a plug episode. This was a Miles Teller wants to be here episode, and I thought that started to really translate throughout the early part of this episode for sure.
I really like this game show, Haynes. I thought that it was not only fun because it was pretty relatable, but they had some clever lines. I didn't feel like they were forcing anything in there, and there were some things that they changed between dress and air. So one is that there was an extra punishment in dress where Cam and Marcelo came out beatboxing, so they ended up cutting that down. They actually changed Miles Teller's costume between dress and air, where he was a K-pop demon hunter in dress, but then he was dressed as the corn guy here at the air show. So I think that they fixed some stuff up here, and whatever we ended up getting on the air show, I thought was pretty tight and well done. So how did you feel about it?
Yeah, it was pretty solid all around. Even though Keenan is playing, kind of the straight man in this, I really got I just thought Keenan played this really well. I was just getting some good chuckles out of him, the way he was handling their responses and stuff. It felt a little bit like we were kind of getting a very New Yorky episode at first, because you've got the mayoral race opening up, and then I felt like they're asking kind of it was just a little bit of a New York life sketch, and I really thought Ben's character was funny, particularly the video they showed down the stretch. Overall, it was pretty solid. I'd say this is kind of a B+ type of sketch for me.
Yeah, it was good. Also, Cam's saxophone didn't really work in the dress rehearsal version, so he ended up mouthing it out loud. So the dress audience had a good time with that. I do think that what I liked about the writing of this sketch was connecting the threads together between the contestants. You could have really, in the writing of this, isolated 3 different things that were happening, but the fact that throughout the sketch you get to know Veronica's character and then Ben's character, you have the whole bit where the prize is the chair, and he's just and that was some great acting from Ben, where he sat down, he was like, ugh. And then you go to the footage of him at the ATM, and it turns out that Veronica was the one who bit him. And I think that them connecting that thread together definitely elevated this for me. It was also great to see, them win prizes for what did you make out with last night? The questions that were being asked. We got an appearance from our favorite extra, Marnie Hall, that older woman who has appeared in a lot of sketches lately. So, happy to see that. And I thought overall this was a pretty solid way to start off the show. We're then going to get to the aforementioned Property Brothers pre-tape, where Miles is going to play both Drew and Jonathan Scott here at the White House, who are building the new ballroom. And I was wondering if they were going to do something with this, which has obviously been a big topic throughout late night and all of the new shows, as Trump has basically destroyed the East Wing and is rebuilding it for his ballroom. We see James as Trump and Chloe playing Melania. She previously played Melania in the spring for the first time. But yeah, it's just a lot of back and forth between Miles and then the Trumps as they're going through an episode of the Property Brothers built in the White House. So Haynes, what did you think of this pre-tape?
This is pretty solid, and it did feel like it ran. It felt kind of long, but not necessarily in a negative way. I wasn't going, "Oh, this is dragging on. This is dragging on." It just kind of it felt like they it took a few minutes. They put some time into it, and but it was kind of a really slow escalation. That was very funny. They didn't rush through it. With that kind of time, you have time to slowly step things up. I thought it was full of a lot of good, funny lines. I mean, yes, when really killed me when they're pointing out the skeletons, and Melania's like, "Those are for Christmas," and so I thought that was funny. And just obviously, it's going to be full of lots of stupid Trump lines, him being like, "Which one of you is married a new girl? Which one of you is the gay?" or something, or whatever he said to him. So it was pretty solid all around with the the single line jokes, but I thought it was a good escalation, kind of slow burn escalation from top to bottom as these guys are dealing with Trump, and kind of a B plot, the way they're kind of getting irked with each other. And then of course we really see them kind of being frustrated with each other at the end. So I thought this was well done.
I thought this was great, and it really reminded me a lot of the White POTUS. It was a completely different tone from what we got, which I think the White POTUS was one of the greatest pre-tapes of last season. But I loved, doing something a little bit different. And that's why maybe I would have preferred, especially in this episode, taking the James Austin Johnson Trump impression out of the cold open and making this feel more special. Because I think that they pretty much set up how far they're willing to go with the impression in the cold opens. But as far as how else we could use this impression, I think that putting him into other scenarios that you wouldn't normally expect him to be in, since he's just everywhere now, I think is a funny concept unto itself. So when you had him in the White Lotus, pre-tape, that was like, oh, okay, there was it was very clever. And I also felt like this was of a similar vein, Law, where you're able to take the Trumps, what they're doing at the White House, and put them in another TV show, and then the comedy ensues from there. And I think that that's what allowed for us to enjoy this. How did you feel about it?
I just felt like it was a layup. Like we got a whole like let them eat cake situation in this country, John. So and this kind of outlines it, you know what I mean? Right down to the very end where they get ICE to shoot them out of there, when they're done. So I felt like that's all it was for me. Like it was the whole situation is absurd given everything else that's going around and what the focus has been on. So yeah, that's, I don't have a whole lot more to add.
But
than that.
listen, I'm with you, and especially like because we're stuck in this place. Like, I mean, how much like are we allowed to laugh at that? We're not supposed. I don't think like some of these things I don't want to laugh at. Like our democracy is crumbling around us. Like we just have to.
It's their job to make.
I know. Of course. I'm not right. But like when like the ICE comment at the end, the Law brought up Leo, and they mentioned ICE, and he's like, "Yes, it is a really spooky secret task force," and he like reiterates it like kind of with that edge of like, it is serious though. There's a secret police force like abducting people. So it's just like, yeah, it's like, yeah, things are tough. Things are tough right now. It's wild. It's just a wild time that we're living in. I'm glad that we have to make jokes about everything, but it is wild. It is wild.
Yeah, and ICE is just stealing World Series from Canadians. It's crazy. But yeah, I thought that the funniest part of this was when they were talking about demolishing the movie theater, and then he was like, "Yeah, Bill Clinton." But he's like, "Bill Clinton said that this was his favorite room," and he's like, "Bill Clinton said that?" Like, and it was so like I'm trying to figure out how to verbalize this well. It was so different than anything that James has ever said as Trump before. He's never had him be inquisitive unless it's like about himself. I think there was a cold open last year where he started questioning if he really wanted to be president and what was happening, that I really like thought was great. But I had never seen him like just take a step back and give that sort of tone shift that I've been looking for sometimes in this impression. And I thought that was really good.
It was hilarious because he shifted, because Trump is there's no one like Trump, and he is one character, like from top to bottom, and he never just sounds like a regular person that you're having dinner with, and he did in that moment, when he's like, wait, Bill Clinton said that was his favorite part? No, Bill Clinton said that was his favorite part. It was really funny. You're right.
That was one of my favorite parts of this episode. I really like that. All right, let's go over to we'll talk about another sport. Let's talk about ice hockey, because the pairing of Andrew and Ashley are together here. They're playing director and the clapper person, where Andrew's playing Didier Leroux and Ashley as Midge, and they're writing partners who put together a lot of famous commercials. You may know them from J.G. Wentworth commercials or Kendall Jenner's Black Lives Matter Pepsi commercial. But here they're putting the ice hockey ad where we're going to have Ben Marshall as a New York Ranger, Tommy as a LA King, and Miles is there as a Nashville Predator, who is there to read off some lines. as he is going out and reading the teleprompter, which says that he's a predator in his community, and lots of jokes about predators. We'll eventually see Veronica and Jeremy there as kids in this commercial, and then some back and forth between Andrew and Ashley as Miles is consistently complaining about being labeled a predator. Law, I know you're a basketball guy, but did you enjoy our hockey commercial we got here?
I enjoyed it because honestly, it could have fit any of the teams. Like if there wasn't an actual team called the Nashville Predators, we would have probably gotten some other sport. I mean, yeah, terrible night for Tennessee sports. Okay, like, they're first of all, their NBA team just had to suspend their basketball, like their point guard Ja Morant. And yeah, like if you are a Nashville Predator fan, sorry, like they're going to, this is going to be something that people will refer to for a long time. So it's very unfortunate. SNL got a hold of their team name, wrote a sketch about it. And I mean, these are things that happen in sports leagues. They want to highlight the community and kind of have that blend between having fun, putting the best players out there, and doing some good. And yeah, this I thought it was funny. Nothing too deep about it, but I thought it was good.
I thought it was particularly good in the context of that a lot of sports teams have changed their names over the last few years because they were references to like Native Americans and things like that. And I just think that it's kind of hilarious that nobody's pointed out that the Nashville Predators are the Predators, even though it is meant to be an animalistic reference. But still, there's something in there, Haynes. So how did you feel about this?
I was going to say, actually, people do point it out all the time.
Okay,
all
right.
I'm on our NHL and our hockey, like on Reddit all the time. And yeah, especially in game threads, like people make fun of that name all the time. They come up with tons of great puns. This is a joke that people make. So I do wonder, like how long do we make this joke? And now like SNL is making this joke. I mean, I don't expect SNL to do more Nashville Predators jokes after the sketch, but like you do wonder if like, can it go on so long that they would actually consider changing the name? I don't think that will be the case, but it's a joke that people have been making for a long time, Overall, I thought the sketch was fun though. It was a little bit, and I don't mean this in a negative way. It was just, it was kind of one note. Once the thing started happening, we knew what was going to happen, and we knew we were just going to get more and more examples of that. I don't have a problem with that because I actually love those types of writing exercises. Like I love being like, all right, this is a situation. How many jokes can we get out of this one thing? Like go, bang, bang, bang. And this was very much that. I think it would be fun to have been assigned this task, if you're helping write the sketch. So it was one note, but I don't have a problem with it. And they did save kind of the better jokes for the end, really driving it home with when just say your name, your position, your team.
I was going to say I did not see Chase Kidd coming. I'll tell you that much. No pun intended.
A lot of fun names in this episode.
Good player, that Chase Kidd. But I do think that this was, again, a fun idea on paper that completely gets boosted by the pairing of Andrew and Ashley, who could have, in my opinion, could have made this sketch worse. I think this is like a tightrope to walk, where in the world of this sketch, as we're watching it, the guy who was questioning what's going on and is consistently going back to the people who have put together this sketch could have been forced into it in like a very overdramatic way. But I think they like walked a tightrope that really worked for me, especially when they were like, let's get the writers in here. And it was so goofy that they had to they spinned in a circle and then came back and they were like, we're here. So again, this, this really works because of the on-screen chemistry that we've seen develop and watched with them. And now that we're getting to see it work in sketches, it's really helping sketches that are just good on paper and making them great. So I love that for that reason. All right, let's keep going. Let's go to our next pre-tape. Let's talk about Gone Without a Trace. So we got 3 men that are being interviewed for a Netflix documentary talking about their significant others just departing, and they don't know where they went. So we got Miles, who's paired with Veronica. We got Ben, who's paired with Sarah, and Keenan, who's paired with Ashley, who are talking about where did they go? And it turns out like their women have either like gone to the bathroom or have went to their sisters for the weekend, and they are just freaking out. We'll have Mikey and Tommy as the cops here interviewing these guys who just can't handle life without their brides, their girlfriends around. So I'm sure this is a relatable pre-tape for a lot of people. Haynes, I'll start with you. How did you feel about this one?
Listen, I thought it was funny. I mean, obviously, the premise itself, well, I don't know if you go all the way to premise, but the core, of this, the foundation of this joke is kind of old hat. It's a joke that's been made a lot that, the wife or woman of the household leaves, and then the idiot man just like can't take care of himself or the kids. I think there's a reason that people keep going back to it. It's because it is relatable, and I guess perhaps true to some effect. This was so. Listen, I thought it was good. I really liked Keenan's character in this, and him not. I mean, they really took it to extreme when he's like not recognizing his own kids. It's like the minute his wife is out of the house, like he doesn't even realize that he has kids and stuff.
The small men.
Yeah, the small men, so it was fun. I think everybody did a good job with their characters. The both the male and female spouses. To me, I enjoyed Keenan the most, and I thought overall it was a well written sketch and well executed.
Yeah, Keenan had a killer line in here where I think his wife said that she was like going to Poughkeepsie, and then they were like, "Where do you have any idea, any location where your wife is?" And he was like, "I know this is wrong, but I'm gonna say the boob store."
that was the best line of the sketch. We're talking about it right now, and I'd forgotten that. But when I heard that line, I remember thinking I was like crying, laughing. I remember thinking like, this is gonna be one of the best lines of the night. It had to be, and it was such a hilarious, just such a hilarious. I mean, I don't know how you even come up with that, but it was really, really funny.
It was very funny the way that they did that. Law, how did you feel about this pre-tape?
Yeah, this was accidentally becoming important at work, meeting all those times where you're being explained something like you're 5, like all in one documentary, because that's what, oh my goodness, that's what I'm not talking about myself, but based off of what I've heard from other men, this is something that happens a lot, man. So I want to watch this documentary. That's my I love the pre-tapes. I love the either fake commercials, or in this case, SNL has ran this dry of previewing shows that are outrageous, right? And I'd want to watch this. Like if Netflix put this out, I would absolutely, find a chill and watch this one. Like there's a lot of meat on that bone, I'll tell you that much. So I thought it was great. I'll say like the featured cast, they all got in the episode by this sketch. Actually, all of them were in the episode before this sketch. This was Sarah's first appearance of the night. This was Mikey Day, I believe, his first appearance of the night. It came in gone with several traces. So I thought this was, again, I thought it was great placement. I thought it was very good. I thought the performance was really good. It's a shame we don't need a sequel, but put the doc out.
So I've seen this documentary, and no offense, Dad, who is a little bit upset tonight about the Blue Jays, but this is my parents. Like not this bad, but my dad like is like, my mom will like leave and go somewhere and will instruct my dad like to do literally everything as if as if he is a child. And I've seen this take place in my house. And that's why it was so funny to me, especially if you can relate to somebody you know, or if this is your experience. It was so great. And I just think there's a lot to mine here. I think Ben in particular was fantastic. I really felt like the show leaned pretty heavy on Keenan tonight, more than they have for the entire season. And this was another example. So like I always talk about this with Mike, that every now and then we get like Keenan pop. And this was a night where they really felt like they should use him. So overall, I really love this. There was a little bit of a different ending in the dress rehearsal version of this one that I think they touched up between dress and air. But at the in the dress rehearsal version, the short actually ended on Ben holding his drawing that he had of Sarah up to Sarah's face, saying like, "Hey, this is pretty accurate, right?" But in the live version, we got the kids running up to Keenan and being like, "The small men are back." So I actually think that was a better ending there that we got for this one. But yeah, really enjoyed this pre-tape. Let's move on to News Point, where we're going to have Chloe and Keenan, who are anchoring a new news show. But it is a show that takes place in sort of like this TMZ style workplace where you see everything that's happening in the background. We get Bowen, and who's working there. Mikey's working there. He's holding a coffee. He slams into a wall. It's just a mess and distracting the news anchors. Miles, who has been reported to HR, shows up. We get Cam dancing in the background and promoting his OnlyFans. Jane at the copier. There's paper everywhere. It's a lot of background chaos. And Law, this reminded me a lot of what we got in pre-tape form over the last few years with the Varsity Valley, where you had like a very serious conversation that's happening either at the subway or in sort of like a soap opera type show. And then you see these things that are happening in the background, except this was the live version of that. And I love that they went for it because it felt different enough and fresh enough to be really cool. So how do you feel about it?
I loved it. First, this is a even more relatable lived experience for me. For those who don't know, I cover basketball. Been a pro journalist for more than a decade. I've worked in multiple newsrooms, and when they have you on TV, I'm always like, why are we doing this? Like, we're live and we're just trying to do our jobs, and you're just trying to like a lot of places do this. They'll just be like, hey, let's have a broadcast and also let's show you our workplace. Like, it's just bizarre. Why? I don't know why you would do it. This sketch is why you would not do that. They have HR violation guy come out, and I did not think that we'd actually see immediate HR violations, and there you go. Live television. I thought it was great. I thought it was not a direct callback, but like, I personally thought of one of my favorite sketches from 30 years ago, Wake Up and Smile. I love the live element and the danger that kept unrolling from that sketch from 30 years ago with David Allen Greer and Will Ferrell and Nancy Walls. So newsrooms are crazy. And I feel like SNL always taps into just this, like, we used to call it eyewitness news when we were in school. The criticism of that, like, there's a lot of funny things that happen when you're trying to watch people be serious about telling the news and whatnot. And this sketch was another piece to add to that family of satire.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that Haynes, I loved everything that was happening in this sketch, from conception to the things that were happening in the background. They escalated. They were very funny. I did not love Keenan and Chloe anchoring this sketch. I felt like they were miscast as the anchors here. And I think that there were other performers on this cast that could have held down the fort in front a little bit better, in a way that they're playing sort of the POV of the audience. I think that almost, in a way, compared to some of those pre-tapes, them not noticing what was happening in the background may have played a little bit better for me. But I don't want to take away from what I thought was a really fun sketch.
It was one of my least favorite sketches of the night. I thought the setup was fine. I love these types of, it works very often when you have like the background stuff going on. That's funny. That was certainly not something that I noticed. Issues with the roles for Keenan or Chloe. That was not something that I was focused on at all. I love wacky gags and pratfalls and stuff. So it's great to have Mikey spilling drinks everywhere. And as soon as Chloe started talking again, after she confirmed that he was okay, I knew he was going to miss the chair. Like, you just knew that he was going to miss that chair, when he went to sit back down. But for me, like, the background jokes and stuff were just they were okay. They worked, but it's just I didn't see a bunch of them that like made me really laugh out loud super hard. So the setup was fine. I just I would have loved, for me, the background gags. None of them were like just amazing. They were all okay. And that was slowing the sketch down a little bit for me, because we're getting example after example after example, and none of them were just like big punches that really gave me a big kick. So I was more focused on that than any single person's role. And it was fine. It was just one of my kind of least favorite sketches of the night.
But that's my point, though, is that I think that the things that are happening in the background are so exciting, so fun, so eye-catching that you don't, as someone watching the sketch, care about what Chloe and Keenan are saying anymore. It becomes white noise. And
it was white noise. Yeah, it was white noise.
And that's what I'm saying. But I don't think that the sketch was written so that you wouldn't listen to them. And I think that it should have been. I think if you're going to have people out there who are going to like do it that way, like there was too much focus on these people who were trying to make the sketch about what, like, Keenan goes on this whole rant about AI. That's a major focus. And you're trying to like hear it. And I think we needed somebody who had almost like less personality than Keenan, or the way that Chloe was playing this, which was with a lot of personality. So that was just my take on it. But I'm excited to rewatch this one, because I think obviously there's a lot of moving parts here. But yeah, it is a good one. I like the creativity of it, so I don't want to be too hard on it. All right, let's talk about Brandi Carlile. She is here, definitely a fan favorite for a lot of people, coming back to SNL for the 4th time in 5 seasons. So, Law, did you enjoy her performances of Church and State and Human?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what Brandi was going to do. It sounded like I listened to Brandi Carlile outside of SNL that much, to be honest. But I have seen her perform each time that she's been on. I feel like this was like her strongest performance since she started being a musical guest on the show. I felt like this was, her version of what we got from Stevie Nicks last year. This was Church and State specifically. Human was your standard Brandi Carlile fare. That was a lot softer, obviously, but man, Church and State went hard, and Brandi knew it. Like, Brandi wasn't out here walking and whatnot with some dark tone. Nah, it was like, turn them lights out, put a whole background of words behind it. She looked like she was ready to fight. Like, I would have ran through a wall with Brandi Carlile that first performance. I thought it was great. And I definitely didn't look forward to listening to that one again in particular. Human was cool, but I thought Church and State, I love it when SNL, subtly or not, brings musical guests with something to say in their performance. So I thought, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to watching that again.
Haynes, did you enjoy getting to see Brandi again?
I loved Church and State. I'm basically in the same boat as Law. Like, I don't really listen to Brandi Carlile, but outside of the show. But I absolutely loved Church and State. I thought it was, I love the sound, I love the lyrics, I love the imagery. I thought the whole performance, the way it was put together, was awesome. I just remember saying to myself, like, I thought this was a really well written song. I just liked I liked all the parts musically, as well as the lyrics, and not just the way that the lyrics were written and sounded together, but obviously there's a message there too. Just top to bottom, I thought it was a really well written song and a great performance. I got to be more focused on that one than the second one. I didn't get a chance to pay as much attention to, but the first one kind of blew me out of the water. I absolutely love Church and State. So I thought it was really fun. And I don't mean this in a negative way, because I do think Brandi Carlile is super cool. I'm just not like a hardcore fan who's going around like preaching to people about every album and stuff. Um, I I really enjoyed it. That's all I'll say. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, happy 1 a.m. again. Happy fall back to all those who celebrate.
Yeah.
We have officially fallen back. So we will be here. We'll start the show over. All right, let's go to weekend update. We'll talk about the correspondence that we saw on update with Bowen Yang as George Santos. So Bowen was not in the building for episode 3, but he is back for episode 4, and George Santos is there to talk about him ending up in the #1 spot in tomorrow's New York City Marathon. He's gained some weight, but now he only tells the truth after coming out of jail. He steals Jost's wallet at one point, and we get to see how Jost has the all of the female cast members in the wallet, and he keeps taking calls. And he turns out he took jewels from the Louvre. So, Law, what did you think of Bowen as Santos on Update?
It was good. I love the interaction with Jost. I really liked how we kept sliding in the window to use the phone. Like I thought that was funny. But yeah, other than that, I'm completely over George Santos, and I don't want to hear from him again.
Yeah, I'll go back to what I said, which is that I think that previously, which is that I think that Bowen has done a couple good appearances as Santos. I get why they were doing this, and also, I'm glad that they put more Bowen in the show. I still think John Lovitz on Fallon as Santos is my favorite thing that they did, and I still wish that they went back to the Tommy Flanagan Santos on Saturday Night Live.
I have not seen that one. I've not seen that at all.
Yeah, he did it a couple of times. He just came back a couple of weeks ago to play Santos on Fallon, and it is this sort of like liar-ish version character from when Lovitz used to play Tommy Flanagan in his early seasons on Saturday Night Live. And I do feel like that is like my favorite version of this. And but overall, Haynes, how did you feel about it?
I mean, I'm never gonna have a problem with a Bowen Weekend Update character. I think Bowen is gonna go down as like, just a really, really, really great all-time cast member. I think he's been exceptional in his tenure, and still continues to grow. It should have crossed my mind when Santos got out of jail last week. My first thought should have been like, oh, well, we'll get another Bowen Santos. I really didn't think about it till this episode. And it was, I will say it was not, like a groundbreaking Weekend Update performance or anything, but it was funny, and I do think Bowen's really good in that role. So I had zero issues with it. I did think maybe one of the funniest lines actually came from Colin. Yeah, you put it up on the screen, but when he said "my angels," it's so funny to me.
There's a couple things I like. Number one is, first of all, love that line, but I also loved that now that the cast photos came out earlier this week, we had them up on social media at the SNL network, that you got to see the Veronica's photo on screen. So that was pretty funny. I also thought that the fact that they gave him the Dodgers hat after the World Series was over. I like stuff like that, because I do think that those are the
too.
Yeah, I think those are the cool moments where you go back to this show in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and you're like, oh, okay, that was the night that the Dodgers won the World Series, and you see the hat being handed to, like, I think that the show knows that, and that's why they do those moments. So I think that was a fun thing there, and you have to wonder if the Blue Jays would have won if he would have gotten a Blue Jays cap, and they had him ready to go. So let's move on to the next set of correspondence, which is Andrew and Ashley, who are playing two people who just hooked up. They're there to talk about the government shutdown, but are they really? Because they just spent some time in Colin's dressing room, and there's a lot of sexual tension that they seem to have recently released. And there's so much back and forth between this couple who are talking about, is my hair okay? You're perfect. And just the way that they play this out between each other is something you can only dream of as an SNL fan, to see cast members with this kind of chemistry on screen, to have some fun. Eventually, this will turn into the whole, well, Republicans and Democrats say they should get together, but should they? And then it's euphemism for like with their relationship. And I didn't say I want to get married. And why did you say I love you during door? So much emphasis on door. But yeah, this is one of my favorite things of the entire season, Haynes. And it's just another MVP moment there for Ashley.
What is door? We had sex with the door.
Sex on door.
This was absolutely one of the highlights of the night, if not maybe my favorite thing. I mean, it was awesome. They were so fantastic together. And listen, it had enough jokes in it that, I think we'd still enjoy it, and we'd still be, well, it's a hot take show, so we're going to be talking about every sketch. We'd still be talking about it, with our friends the next day when we're talking about SNL, even if it was flat. But by having that arc in the story where like it gets to the point where like, oh, you think they should be together, and then we start, well, I mean, not two together. Like, well, what do you mean? And you touched on it. Like you said, I love you during door. So that was great that we had this, because they were amazing in the first part of that, like even like just when they were being lovey-dovey, and kind of having that post hookup glow, but giving that twist to it, where they start to have conflicting views about the experience. That was a great arc to take it through, and top to bottom, this was fantastic. Absolutely loved it.
And bottom.
Yeah. Ashley and Dismukes, as you said, excuse me, at the top of this episode, they are working so well together. And this was it was awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I number one, can never look at doors the same. Number two, speaking of hot takes, I genuinely think we're looking at potentially one of the greatest pairings of cast members ever. It's very early, but the potential is there.
That is hot.
Yeah. I see it.
No,
it's
I'm actually entertained by how much we've been talking about Ashley and Andrew on this particular pod that we're doing right now. And I enjoy it. I enjoy that we're talking about it. I enjoy that Ashley has broken out to the degree that she has. That Andrew isn't just the guy in the sketch who, how we say it, gets cucked every time he's on. Like I love I love the
uncucking him.
Exactly, the ascension is marvelous. I love the progression, and this wasn't about government shutdown stuff at all. I actually thought that we might get some level of commentary after what Che put on Instagram today, and the fact that he was actually serious on Instagram for once. But I thought it was cool. I'm always going to be entertained by people's conflicting feelings and vulnerabilities just bearing out and going through phases, and so again, I'm not sure. I'm gonna side eye every time those two are on, or in a sketch together in some kind of tandem. Like, you guys have poisoned my mind. But that's cool. Better that than, I guess, poisoning the well that is the government shutdown.
Hey, let me just roll the tape, because if you go back to episode 1, we got the parent-teacher conference. You go to episode 2, you got the Rudemans, and then back-to-back with non-alcoholic beer. In the last episode, we had the appliance jingle sketch where they came in as a pair during that Veronica piece. Now it is undeniable that SNL is not only pushing them together as a pairing, but that the two of them have found each other and are making magic both in Colin's office and on this show. And I am so excited to see what they're going to continue to do. This was absolutely fantastic for me. My favorite update piece of the season. All right. What was cut from update tonight? We got Jane Wickline with another one of her songs. She was on the piano singing about going to a booty call, even though the person is sick and doesn't want her there. That is cut from the update desk tonight. I heard it played pretty well at Dress, but ultimately didn't make the show. Okay, we're going to keep going. Now we're going to head off with the Andrew Dismukes momentum to Gar Girl, where James is playing a cop who introduces Miles, who is the lead homicide detective for for the investigation into the steak knife slasher. We get Jeremy, Veronica, Bowen, Andrew, Ashley, Sarah, and Tommy, all as reporters asking questions. But the sketch takes a turn when Andrew asks about the email he recently received from DC Comics about his comic Gargoyle, half gargoyle, half girl, that it won't be published. And then eventually all of the reporters turn to him to ask more questions about what is happening here. Eventually Ben will walk in as the murderer himself, but truly it is Andrew who is the one who is turning this into a very Dismukes type sketch as he is fighting for his comic Gargoyle. Law, what did you think of this one?
I love the takeover. We obviously hadn't seen Miles in what felt like a half hour to this point, and this was not Miles' sketch, as you alluded to. And Andrew, this was very much an Andrew sketch. Like it was very inclusive, and I think I was just most entertained by Ben showing up. Not even a bloody knife, like just a knife, just out there participating and whatnot, and this whole gargoyle thing. So it was weird, it was cool, but yeah, definitely an Andrew thing more than a reintroduction to Miles for the second half of the show.
Haynes, as Andrew has continued to elevate his status at the show, we've walked away from these sketches that are really written in his voice. I felt like this was going back to what we saw towards the end of 49, a couple times in 50. Seeing this again was very refreshing for me. We would be remiss not to also talk about Ashley's big moment in this sketch where she just starts yelling on behalf of Andrew. And I think that was a major moment here as well.
It was so good. Just the change in tone. And listen, she's done, I mean, maybe not that exact same thing in other sketches, but she is so good. I can tell that, even without, and I'm not saying she did this in this moment, but there's other sketches where I've seen her change the tone, like when she's trying to make someone break or something, and you can just tell it's just a little bit different than the way they rehearsed it. I think she's really adept at reading the other emotions around here, as any good performer is, and taking advantage of that. So I think that's just kind of like a side point. I think she's great at kind of like a little bit of tonal shift. This was obviously like a big tonal shift. It was written into the script, but she blew it out of the water, and you could hear the audience like getting great laughs out of that. And it's almost hard to process like what was so funny about it. It just completely worked. And this sketch, the whole sketch for me was awesome. I absolutely loved this. It was completely Dismukian. And I thought it was a really fun concept. And at first it's a little bit goofy. But of course they just keep digging and digging. And I love the way that the whole sketch turns inward toward this comic, and everyone's interested in it. And then, yeah, of course, that kind of brings us to the point with Ashley where she's, telling these cops to stop worrying. Like, we'll ask the questions here. We're on to the actual interesting story here. I just really thought it was a fantastic sketch. I thought it was well written. Everyone did a good job with their delivery. And to me, this was another banger. I really liked it a lot.
Ashley's voice reached a level that I didn't think was possible when she shrieked like that.
She sounded so different. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so incredible. And it was so obviously very different from what we got before. And like that shows you how high quality these two cast members are, in my opinion, where you go from Update, where they're playing these two this couple, and the way that they're talking to each other is so subtle and so like slow paced, and then they have to then go backstage, change, get ready for this next sketch where they are put into a high energy situation, especially Andrew. And of course, Ashley will have this big moment as well. And again, it's like, this is what the greats do. They're able to pull stuff like this off. And I thought this was a really funny sketch, very solid stuff all around. I thought everyone was really well placed. And I sort of questioned myself, like, okay, did we need all these cast members as reporters in here? But I think that actually added to the sketch in the end, the fact that you had so many people who just gave their attention over to Andrew eventually, as he just, pushed his his agenda forward to talk about Gargoyle. So yeah, really, really like this one. Our final sketch of the night is the Italian restaurant sketch where Mikey and Chloe are on a date in Nebraska, and they're there, and their waiters are Marcelo and Miles. And Marcelo, we have not seen him the entire night. I told you before that he had a piece that was, or a little bit that was cut from that game show sketch. So he was not in the episode until we saw him for the final sketch of the night, playing off of Miles as Leonardo and Da Vinci, as they are very flirty with Chloe, basically doing nothing with Miles. Keenan will come out as Chef Mario in this one. Law, what did you feel about our final sketch of the night?
Man, I was just shocked to see Marcello. I was like, man, they mothballed my man's. Like, what happened to Marcello the whole night? I'm a big fan of everybody getting in the damn show. So I'm glad to see that he was there. I'm glad that he got to be featured somehow. And I feel like there was another sketch where Keenan did this whole "I didn't expect you to be the chef" kind of thing and pop out. So maybe you guys will find that over the next few days. Because I couldn't put my finger on it quite yet, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was a fine 10-1 sketch and everything. Something to get Marcello out there. But yeah, not a whole lot, nothing much more than that. It was a good end to the night. Oh, one more thing. I really thought an F-bomb was dropped. I will say that. I jumped. I was like,
when he said get to focaccia.
My Italian
and say it
good
again
at all.
Yeah.
So when he said it again, it put me at STCEs. But when he said it the first time, I was like, this doesn't sound like it was supposed to come out like that. Especially because it was a 10-1. I was like, oh, that's why this is late, but yeah. Other than that,
my heart skipped a beat as well. I really thought that we were witnessing something like really funny, which it was funny. That's not to say that it wasn't funny. It was funny, but like I also, it took me a minute to process that. And of course, when they say it a second time, that's not what's being said. But even then, it took me a second to realize they were saying focaccia, because it just sounded like an F-bomb.
And I was shocked because it's like if you're gonna F-bomb, it's like you don't want to burn it on that. You know what I'm saying?
You don't burn it on Il Cantore from Redo. Yeah, because honestly, I have to be real. Like, there is no way that whoever was involved in putting the sketch together has not seen a very famous sketch from back in the day with Kirstie Alley. And there's other versions of this where the Italian waiters are just flirting with her hardcore as she's sitting across the table from Dana Carvey. It is like one of the more replayed sketches from that era. And this sketch was the same premise, like verbatim. So that was hard for me to look past here. I think it was like, again, probably more the theme of the night where everyone seemed to be having a lot of fun. This was probably my low point just because it didn't escalate in any way. I guess the only thing was at the end when they were like throwing food at Mikey and he was like, dude, what the hell? Which I don't even know was part of the sketch. But overall, just thought that this was okay. Haynes, did you have anything else on it?
It was funny. It was one of those dumb funny ones. So 10-1 is a great place to put it. I did listen. I am a sucker kind of for puns. So obviously this had plenty of puns. I did think it was really funny when Dismukes asked, like, oh, do you have anything for me? And Marcelo just threw like a handful of salad at his face and maybe did it a couple times. And listen, this is the way I'm like thinking at like this stage of the night. Like I remember they're like feeding her these grapes, and I'm going like, that's too many grapes. Like those are big grapes. Like it's too many grapes to put in her mouth. And listen, you want to get like a funny tidbit? Okay, everyone who's paying attention to the show, Google Razzmatazz muscadine grape. You've never heard of this grape, I'm sure. This is going to be wild. You're like, John, Andrew, why are you talking about grapes on my show right now? Listen, I'm just telling you, these razzmatazz muscadine grapes, they're the size of the tapioca balls in boba pudding. They're this big, they're teeny tiny, they're seedless, and they're the best grapes you've ever had in your life. I just had them this weekend. It changed my world. I never thought I'd be excited about a grape. I was thinking about razzmatazz grapes when I saw all those huge grapes going into her mouth. That's how good these grapes were and how all right this sketch was.
Right. All right. What a grape tip you had for us. So thank you for that. Well, all right. On that note, let's conclude this episode by rating it out of 1 to 10. So I will ask the chat to put their ratings in there as Law and Haynes think about how they feel about this episode overall, while I tell you what was cut from the episode. So we had 3 sketches and a pre-tape that did not make it to air. First was a med spa sketch where Sarah is getting laser hair removal at a med spa, but it's just Miles and Bowen playing vaguely Norwegian punk guys doing the procedure. When they do the laser treatment, it was just them dancing with lasers going off like a club. So that was more of a Bowen sketch that was cut there. We have a sketch called Brothers Bachelor Party, where Miles is the older brother of Andrew. He writes a song about how much he's loved bonding with the boys this weekend. Brandi Carlile appears in it at the end, so that one was cut. We get another one called Born Texas, Die Texas, where teens are drinking in the woods talking about how they'll never leave Texas. Miles plays Tommy's dad. He says he's moving to New York to get out of Texas and chase some women, how he's still married to Tommy's mom. And Shane Gillis actually did appear in that one, in the Born Texas, Die Texas sketch that did not make it to air. There was also a pre-tape called Green Flags. This is another Martin pre-tape, I believe, where Martin is taking Ashley home after a date. She thinks he's all green flags until she sees a Brickable, a knockoff Lego of a Bugs Bunny type character with a thong pushing his ass out. She sees another with Porky Pig holding his crotch. Ends up being an ad by Brickable where you can hire a roommate to blame the sculptures on them instead. So 1 pre-tape, 3 sketches that were cut from the night. All right, guys, how are you going to rate this one? Law, I'll start with you.
I'm going with a 5, which is a boring rating. I'm sorry. Not a big fan of 0.5s when I don't really believe in either side of it. It's a 5. I am concerned about how the rest of the month will go. I just feel like there's a lot of episodes. I feel like there's a lot of episodes in a short amount of time. And, you know, I'm going to just set the bar low and be happy when my low expectations are exceeded. That's just where I'm at right now. But I do want some more memorable sketches. I just didn't think there was a lot of them in this episode. I thought it was good. I don't think it was like what was good. Was good. That's what I'll say. Like I felt like the episode got off to a good start. It was just unbalanced. You had 2 sketches after update. It was an okay show, but yeah, I feel like I'm not super optimistic about what I'm going to get by the end of a stretch where they have 6 episodes in 7 weeks.
All right, Haynes, how do you feel about this one?
And I'm watching all these ratings come in, and I would rate it a little higher than most folks. I would say a 7.5. And this is something that, I've never really known, because I think people can think about this in different ways, because you could think about 1 as like, really bad and 10 as perfect. But I think of it more like, listen, I mean, we grade our work in school, on a scale of 0 to 100, but like anything below 60 is failing. That's trash, So like you expect everything to be, at least you expect everyone, all the students to be, for the most part, to be getting at least 7, 8, 9 tenths of the information you're putting out there. Like you expect them to get a certain level. So I call this a 7.5, which to me in the SNL world is kind of more like, B plus or something. I don't think, so I think it was a pretty good episode.
I thought it was a pretty good episode too. I'm probably a little bit lower, very slightly. Like I'll probably go 7 on it, just slightly lower. I think that overall for me, there was nothing I really disliked, so that's good. I think that if I'm going to go somewhere with that, it's probably the last sketch of the night. But overall, I thought it was really fun. I think the cast use was fantastic once again. So if there's something to like lean your hat on, with the season so far is that like they found a really good way to use the cast. I'm very impressed with that for the start of season 51. So I think that this was another good example of that tonight. I also felt like they leaned on some cast members that I'm really impressed with, including our whole talk about Ashley and Andrew. And that update piece, for me, it was my favorite update moment of the season. I really just love that. And we also got an Andrew Dismukes sketch in his voice in this episode, so that it always elevates things for me. So overall, I'm feeling pretty good. I love what they attempted with the New York mayoral cold open. So I'm happy with that as well. I thought that was like a fun thing that we're going to talk about for a long time from this episode and where we place it. So overall, a pretty good night for Saturday Night Live. And I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic, Law. I think that the fall is always a challenge for Saturday Night Live. There's a lot of episodes in a limited number of weeks. The spring is much more spread out, but the cast members tend to get in a rhythm at certain points. When you have too many breaks, it creates this lack of momentum. And I think that they can build upon this. So for me, I've been enjoying the season so far. I think it's been some of the most fun I've had covering the show, and I'm hoping that they continue moving forward. So I'm looking to enjoy. I'm excited to continue talking about it all week long, especially when we're back on Monday night for our roundtable, where I will be here with 3 special guests to talk about everything we saw from this week of the show, all the major moments from Miles Teller and Brandi Carlile's episode of Saturday Night Live. On Wednesday, Mike will be here for By the Numbers to talk about all the analytics and data from this week. We'll see who rises up the power rankings and who shoots down the power rankings after week number 4. And then, of course, we will be back here next week to talk about Nikki Glazer and Somber's episode of Saturday Night Live as we break everything down on the Hot Take Show. Law, thanks so much for joining us. I know the NBA season just started, so I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. And yeah, week 2, it's been something crazy every week, but I'm glad that we are getting to talk about SNL episode 4 here tonight.
Yeah, thanks so much, Law. And Haynes, thanks for staying up late with us and hanging out once again here on the Hot Take Show.
Oh boy, Wolfpack whooped Georgia Tech's ace tonight. It was awesome. I had a great night, top to bottom, except the Dodgers.
Of course. But it was a fantastic night with all of you, and I'm glad that you get to get an extra hour of sleep tonight, even if you stayed up late with us. Of course, subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify to never miss when we go live with any of our shows. And you can follow us at the SNL Network to see all of our posts on social media. I want to thank Late Nighter for being the presenting partner for our show, Haynes and Law for being on the show here with us, and everybody in the live chat for staying up late on this first night of November. So on behalf of everyone here at the SNN, my name is Jon Schneider, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.